For the first time, the race didn't start in Underberg as the new race village at Glencairn Farm in the shadow of Sani Pass bid the riders farewell on a clear, still morning. The Oak Lane single track was an early chance for the field to get a taste of the trails that make the Nedbank Sani2c so special, the dual lanes allowing them all the time and space to get maximum speed and enjoyment. Defending champions Kevin Evans and Max Knox lost 9 minutes to a broken chain, and shortly afterwards Darren Lill and Waylon Wilcock attacked up towards View Climb. In the Pines single track, Team Recium's Eric Kleinans fell hard, costing he and Nico Bell the chance of catching the leading pair. Wilcock and Lill led the charge across the Mossbank Dam floating bridge, with the Honrabi and Swiss partner Connie Lucer of Best Med Wheeler joining Recium in the chase. The field in the women's race is as strong as any in the history of the event, and Recium's Ariane Kleinans and Cherie Stander went hard from the start, steadily opening up a lead over their rivals, who included Team Ascendus' Jenny Steenenhaag of Sweden and Namibia's Vera Adrian, and the Sasol women's pair of Jolandi de Villiers and England's Catherine Williamson. Wilcock and Lill were two men on a mission at the front of the race as they powered through the lush indigenous Mumeni forest near Donnybrook. By the time they reached Evan Stora's Wyat's Dairy Farm, they had opened a lead of just over 2 minutes on Recium and Rabia Lucer. And as they crossed the line, it was 2 hours and 38 minutes since the start. Kleinans and Stander were highly impressive, finishing 20th overall to take the women's honours 4 minutes ahead of de Villiers and Williamson of Sasol Racing. 2 minutes and 7 seconds separates the top 3 teams going into stage 2, and there are just under 7 minutes between the top 3 in the women's race. The race to be first into the single track at the top of the descent was won by Team Bigen's Max Knox, behind him plenty of scrambling to settle onto the trail. The next 18 kilometres was an adrenaline rush of the highest order as they flew down the now famous trails such as Murray's Meander, Yankees Doodle, Sosiba section and Tamika's Detour, and many more. This is what most of the field had been looking forward to for many months. At the bottom of the valley, the lead group crossed the mighty Umkomaas River via one of the many purpose-built bridges that make this route flow so beautifully. The first sharp climbs came after 40 kilometres, and soon the lead group was whittled down to 4 teams: Recium, Bigen Vulcan, EAI Wheeler and race leaders Wilcock and Lill. They followed the course of the Kopo River, passing a number of once flourishing but now sadly abandoned farms as they crossed the river multiple times. On the long climb out of the valley, Recium lost touch, and through the second water point it was Lucer, Wilcock, Rabi, Lill, Knox and Evans in the lead group. The second place EIA Wheeler pair were looking for any opportunity to eat into the 2-minute lead of Team Blend. And disaster struck for Lill and Wilcock on the flat forest roads of High Flats. When Lill punctured, the lead was shrinking all the time as they plugged the rear wheel, while Rabi and Lucer powered away from them. At the finish, the Swiss-South African pair took the win, whilst Lill and Wilcock emptied their tanks to limit their losses, finishing 1 minute and 38 seconds back in second place. The women's race was an intense battle between race leaders Ariane Kleinans and Cherie Stander of Recium and the Sasol women's pair of Jolandi de Villiers and Catherine Williamson. Halfway through the stage, Recium, under the impression they'd had 5 minutes to their 4-minute overnight lead, backed off, only to find Williamson and de Villiers a few seconds behind them on the district road climb. This galvanised Kleinans into action, and she dragged a bunch of men and her partner up the hill and way into the distance. By the finish, the pair had added 1.5 minutes to their overall advantage. The race for overall honours is as close as it's ever been going into the final stage. And in the women's race, Sasol women will have a huge task to make up over 5.5 minutes. The final stage is traditionally a flat-out dash for the Indian Ocean, and with so little time between the top teams, it was a no-holds-barred battle. The initial shots being fired by Bigen Vulcan pair Kevin Evans and Max Knox as they hurtled through the cane fields. But they were soon reeled in by the EAI Wheeler team of Johan Rabi and Connie Lucer, as well as Recium's Eric Kleinans and Nico Bell, and race leaders Darren Lill and Waylon Wilcock. These 3 teams kept the pace high and in the optimistic hope that one of their 6 riders would flag under the pressure, causing a break, but to no avail as they all dealt comfortably with the tough work-to-be-done climb in Vernon Crook's Nature Reserve. Evans and Knox were putting everything into the chase, the defending champions keen to steal a stage win after a disappointing first 2 days. But having made up the time, with 20 k's to go, they came to a grinding halt on the old railway track when Evans broke his chain. Up front, Swiss star Connie Lucer pushed hard close to the finish and missed the turning to the floating bridge. Lill and Wilcock led them on. Rabi had Lucer on his wheel, until a subtle tide move caught Lucer off guard and he took a swim. Lill and Wilcock collected their second stage win and the overall title. Rabi and a rather sodden Lucer was second. The women's race was another dominant ride by Recium's Ariane Kleinans and Cherise Stander. Behind them, Sasol Women's Yolandi de Villiers and Catherine Williamson lost ground early on when the British rider misfired on an early climb. They recovered well but couldn't stop Kleinans and Stander from taking stage and overall honours on Scotland Beach. The unsponsored Lil and Wilcock pair taking the win over 3 days, a first for each of them. Rabi and Lusa taking second, well ahead of Kleinans and Bell. Stander and Kleinans completely dominant in the women's.